Far beyond the Milky Way, in a galaxy filled with thousands of civilizations, a group of highly advanced aliens gathered in a grand council chamber, their shapes shimmering under the bright lights of their crystalline hall. They spoke in low, serious tones, each one aware that the topic of discussion was dangerous, even forbidden. The most senior of them, a wise alien with eyes like molten silver, raised a hand and silenced the chatter. "We have studied the humans for decades," it said slowly, "and their growth, their unpredictability, it is unlike anything we have ever seen before." Some of the council members laughed softly, shaking their tall, slender heads. "Humans, they are primitive," one of them said, its voice echoing in the hall. "They crawl on two legs, live on a small planet, and cannot even survive without their simple machines. How could they ever threaten the galaxy?" The senior alien's eyes narrowed, glowing brighter as it replied. "You do not understand. Their potential is dangerous, far beyond what we have predicted. Their intelligence, their ability to adapt, and their resilience in the face of impossible odds are growing faster than we anticipated. We have observed them in secret, and what we have seen is enough to worry any wise civilization." Another alien, impatient and arrogant, leaned forward. "We have faced threats before, species far stronger than humans, and yet we survived. Why waste our energy worrying about these creatures?" But the senior alien shook its head. "You are not listening. Humans do not follow predictable rules. They do not act like the species we have faced before. They learn quickly. They improvise. And worst of all, they survive situations that would destroy others. We have seen them rebuild entire civilizations after disasters that should have ended them. They are not what they seem." Despite these warnings, most council members dismissed the concerns, whispering among themselves and rolling their eyes. "Humans are curious, yes, and clever in small ways, but they are still children in the galaxy," one said. "They cannot pose any real danger. Let them explore. Let them play with their small machines and their fragile worlds. We have more pressing matters than worrying about them." The senior alien sighed, knowing that persuasion here would be nearly impossible. Yet it tried once more, showing the council images of human colonies, their space fleets, and their unpredictable strategies during small conflicts. "Look at them. They survive where others die. They fight where others surrender, and they adapt faster than any known species. The galaxy should pay attention now, before it is too late." But the images only made some of the council laugh. "These are minor skirmishes," one said. "These humans fight among themselves. They destroy their own world's resources. How can that be dangerous to the rest of us?" Another added, "Even if they grow stronger, it will take centuries for them to reach a level where they could affect the galaxy. We have time." The senior alien's glowing eyes dimmed, a hint of frustration showing. "You think time is your ally, but humans do not play by your rules. They do not wait. They will arrive faster than you can imagine, and when they do, you will wish you had listened." Meanwhile, far below the council chamber, humans on their blue planet continued their daily lives, completely unaware of the debate about them in the far reaches of space. They explored the stars cautiously, making first contact with a few alien species, building ships, learning about physics and the cosmos. Yet they did not know that some species had already noticed them and were whispering warnings to each other. But the humans paid no attention to the rumors or fears. They were too busy surviving, exploring, and dreaming. Back in the council chamber, the senior alien made one final attempt, sending a message to every major race in the galaxy, a warning about humanity's potential, a plea to prepare for a species that could not be controlled or predicted. The message traveled like a ripple across star systems, but in almost every civilization it was ignored, dismissed as alarmist, or laughed at. "Humans? Just another primitive race," a galactic leader said as they waved the message away. "There is no reason to worry about them." The senior alien watched helplessly as the warnings went unheeded, its mind racing with visions of the future. Humans exploring, expanding, surviving, and growing stronger while the galaxy continued in blissful ignorance. "They are too clever, too unpredictable, too strong in ways no one can understand yet," it whispered, knowing that when the humans eventually reached their true potential, no one would be ready. And so, humans continued their lives, unaware, while faraway observers recorded every action, knowing that one day the galaxy would see them for what they truly were. and by then, it would be too late. Humans had been exploring their own solar system for decades, sending probes, satellites, and small crewed missions to distant planets, and now their technology had advanced enough to reach beyond the stars. They built ships capable of crossing light years, learning from every mistake, every encounter, and every discovery. Their curiosity pushed them forward, and nothing could slow their desire to know what was out there. On the outskirts of a neighboring galaxy, a small human fleet approached a previously unknown star system, scanning the planets carefully. Their sensors detected signs of intelligent life, and humans prepared to make contact, cautious but confident. As the ships drew closer, they transmitted messages in multiple languages, trying to communicate with the alien species they had never met, hoping for understanding and peaceful exchange. The aliens they encountered were cautious, almost suspicious. Their planet had never faced visitors from beyond the stars, and the sudden arrival of humans triggered alarm among their leaders. "Who are these creatures?" one of them whispered, pointing to the enormous human ships. "They move so quickly, they speak without hesitation, and they expect us to understand them instantly." Their council debated, unsure whether to attack, hide, or try communication, but the humans' calm and patient signals puzzled them. Humans sent small crews to the planet's surface, wearing protective suits and carrying translators, moving slowly and showing peaceful gestures. They offered technology, knowledge, and help to understand the galaxy together. The aliens watched, their eyes wide with curiosity and fear. They had expected a weak species, but humans were confident, clever, and unafraid, moving with purpose and intelligence. Back on the alien homeworld, news of the humans spread quickly, stirring panic among some and laughter among others. "They are just curious animals," a council member said. "They explore like children, unaware of danger. How can they threaten us?" Yet others were uneasy, remembering the warnings from the secret observers who had studied humanity for years. They survive impossible situations. They adapt faster than anyone else, and now they are here, making first contact with a species far older than themselves, one alien warned. The first human-alien encounter on the surface was tense, almost frightening, but the humans relied on observation and instinct rather than force. They studied the aliens' culture, language, and customs, asking questions and learning quickly. Every step was careful but bold, and the aliens could not understand how creatures so small and seemingly fragile could be so confident and skilled. Suddenly, a minor skirmish erupted, caused by a misunderstanding. A group of alien guards mistook a human gesture for a threat, and weapons were drawn. The humans did not panic, instead using clever tactics, shields, and maneuvers that surprised the aliens. They avoided killing anyone, but neutralized the situation efficiently. The aliens were stunned, their expectations shattered. Humans had solved a dangerous conflict without destruction, and their actions revealed intelligence, strategy, and courage. Observers from other parts of the galaxy began recording this incident, amazed at how humans handled a potentially deadly situation. The senior alien who had warned the council watched in secret, nodding with satisfaction. "Finally, they see a glimpse of the truth," it said softly. "Humans are not what anyone expected. They are unpredictable, clever, and strong in ways that no one understands." Meanwhile, humans continued their mission, learning quickly from every mistake and every new piece of information. They adapted their technology, refined their communication, and began to integrate themselves into galactic society cautiously, yet effectively. The aliens they met could not help but admire their determination, ingenuity, and resourcefulness. Even those who were skeptical started to wonder if the warnings had been accurate. Across the galaxy, some alien leaders began to whisper about the humans with unease. "Perhaps we underestimated them," one said quietly. "They are not primitive, they are not simple, and they are not harmless. Their actions are precise, intelligent, and unstoppable in ways we cannot yet measure." Yet many still laughed, convinced that humans were just lucky, that their success would not last, and that the galaxy had nothing to fear. The humans' first contact missions were filled with small victories that seemed insignificant at first, but each one built a reputation of cleverness and courage. They solved disputes between alien factions, repaired damaged communication networks, and shared knowledge in ways that impressed even the most advanced civilizations. Their reputation grew quietly, without arrogance, and yet with undeniable impact. Back on their homeworld, humans were unaware of the panic and whispers spreading across the galaxy. They focused on exploration, discovery, and understanding. Their courage in the face of uncertainty, their ability to adapt and improvise, and their willingness to take risks made them a force no one had anticipated. Every challenge they faced, every miscommunication they resolved, only proved the warnings of the observers to be true. By the time the Alien Council formally reviewed the humans' actions, it was clear that underestimating them had been a grave mistake. Humans had achieved more in a few months of interstellar travel than many alien species had in centuries. The observers who had predicted humanity's rise felt vindicated. "We told them," one said bitterly. "We warned the galaxy, but no one believed us. Now they are here, and the galaxy will soon learn the truth." Humans continued their journey, unaware of the fear and admiration they inspired, moving forward with curiosity, intelligence, and resilience. Every encounter strengthened their reputation. Every challenge tested their creativity. Every victory, no matter how small, showed the galaxy that humans were not to be underestimated. They were clever, unpredictable, and growing stronger with every step, and no one had yet seen the full extent of what they were capable of. And as humans left the system, heading to new stars, new planets, and new civilizations, the galaxy began to shift, silently and slowly, in response to their presence. Observers documented everything, noting patterns, predicting outcomes, and understanding that the first contact was only the beginning. Humans had arrived, and their story was just starting. The galaxy had been watching humans quietly for decades, some with curiosity, others with concern. Yet after their first contact missions, humans became impossible to ignore. Their boldness, creativity, and resilience spread across star systems like a silent storm. The aliens who had once laughed at the warnings now began to whisper nervously, "Perhaps they are more dangerous than we imagined." Humans moved from system to system, exploring planets, building colonies, and learning everything they could about the new worlds they encountered. They did not attack unless provoked, but their presence alone challenged the assumptions of many advanced civilizations. Aliens began to see humans as unpredictable, clever, and surprisingly skilled at navigating situations that would overwhelm other species. At first, most of the galaxy treated humans as a curiosity, something to watch for amusement. "Look at them," one alien laughed in a council meeting. "They build ships that barely match ours. They struggle to survive on harsh planets, and yet they explore boldly. They are entertaining, nothing more." But secretly, some factions began to notice patterns, small actions that showed humans were capable of thinking in ways aliens could not predict. They learned, adapted, and often turned dangerous situations into opportunities for advantage. In one star system, humans encountered a species that had a reputation for being fierce warriors. They underestimated the humans, believing that their technological advantage would make the humans easy to defeat. But humans did not fight like anyone expected. They used clever tactics, setting traps, creating diversions, and improvising weapons. The battle was brief but shocking, with humans managing to escape unharmed while leaving the aliens stunned and confused. Observers from multiple galaxies secretly recorded the event, noting every move humans made. "See how they think," one whispered. "They do not follow our rules. They do not fight like us, and they do not surrender easily. They are clever beyond measure." But most councils still ignored these warnings, laughing off reports as exaggerations or luck. The humans' reputation grew slowly, quietly, but it was impossible to ignore completely. Humans continued their exploration, not for conquest, but for knowledge and survival. They repaired alien ships, helped resolve disputes between warring species, and shared technology when it benefited both sides. Their actions were bold but fair, making allies and impressing even the most skeptical civilizations. Many aliens began to reconsider their previous assumptions, realizing that humans were unlike any species they had met before. Meanwhile, secret observers continued to warn the galaxy, sending messages that humans were not to be underestimated. They learn faster, adapt better, and survive situations that destroy others, one alien said. If the galaxy does not pay attention, it will face consequences it cannot imagine. But these messages were mostly ignored or laughed off as fear-mongering. The other species could not believe that humans, small and fragile as they seemed, could be a real threat. Humans began forming small alliances with alien species who admired their intelligence and courage. They worked together to explore new regions of space, solve conflicts, and share knowledge. This cooperative approach surprised many because humans gained influence without showing dominance or cruelty. They earned respect not by force, but by ingenuity, problem solving, and unexpected solutions to complex situations. In one case, humans encountered a planet locked in civil war. The alien leaders thought humans would take sides blindly, but instead, humans carefully studied the situation, understood the motivations of each faction, and helped create a plan that ended the conflict with minimal casualties. The aliens were amazed. How can a species so small think so clearly and act so effectively? They whispered to each other. Many began to wonder if humans had been underestimated for far too long. Meanwhile, in distant parts of the galaxy, some alien leaders began to feel fear, quietly acknowledging that humans were clever, resourceful, and adaptable. "We laughed at them once," one admitted. "We ignored them, but now I am not sure we should have. They are unpredictable, capable, and growing stronger every day." Others resisted the fear, clinging to the belief that humans were lucky or naive, that their rise was temporary, and that the galaxy still held control. Humans continued traveling, building colonies on uninhabited planets, exploring asteroid belts, and discovering new technologies. Every discovery, every action increased their influence and reputation. Yet they did not show arrogance. They moved forward calmly, with determination, focusing on survival, knowledge, and understanding. Their progress was steady but unstoppable, and observers noted patterns that suggested humans would soon surpass many older civilizations in strategy, technology, and influence. Alien factions began holding secret meetings, discussing humans quietly, debating whether to intervene, ally, or simply observe. Some suggested containment, others proposed forming alliances, while a few argued for preemptive attacks. Yet the humans continued to act in ways that surprised everyone, using intelligence and creativity instead of brute force. They had a way of solving problems and escaping danger that no one could fully predict. Observers who had studied humans for decades watched with quiet pride and apprehension. "We warned them," one said, "and they did not believe us." But the humans are here, and the galaxy will soon have to face the truth. They are clever, resilient, and capable of surviving anything. The question now is whether the rest of the galaxy will understand before it is too late. Humans' reputation grew quietly but steadily, spreading across star systems. The species that had once been laughed at were now being noticed for their ingenuity, courage, and unexpected ability to adapt to any situation. They did not dominate by fear, but their intelligence and resourcefulness made them formidable, challenging the assumptions of every civilization they encountered. Even those who had previously dismissed humanity began to worry, realizing that the species they had ignored for centuries was quietly becoming something far more powerful than anyone expected. The humans' first encounters, victories, and clever problem-solving marked the start of a shift in the galaxy, one that would soon make it impossible to underestimate them. As humans traveled onward, meeting new species, solving conflicts, and building alliances, the galaxy began to feel a subtle change, a sense that something unprecedented was happening. Observers continued to record everything, knowing that humans' cleverness, unpredictability, and resilience were reshaping the balance of power, and that the story of humanity had only just begun. A large alien faction had been watching humans for years, quietly mocking them at first, believing they were harmless and primitive. But the recent reports of humans surviving dangerous situations, solving impossible problems, and winning minor conflicts without destroying anyone had begun to disturb them. They decided it was time to test humanity directly, to see if the warnings whispered by secret observers were true. A fleet of heavily armed alien warships approached a human colony in a distant star system, planning to intimidate them and assert control. They believed it would be an easy mission, confident that humans could not possibly resist such overwhelming power. But the humans on the colony were not ordinary civilians. They had trained for emergencies, studied alien tactics, and built defenses with careful foresight. Even though they had never faced a fleet like this before, they were ready to act. As the alien ships descended, humans observed carefully, noting the positions, weapons, and formation of the fleet. They did not panic. They did not surrender. Instead, they began preparing traps, shields, and diversion tactics, using the terrain of their colony and advanced technology in creative ways. Every decision was fast, precise, and unexpected, confusing the aliens who thought humans would react predictably. The aliens fired first, expecting immediate chaos, but humans had anticipated this. Using clever maneuvers and shield systems, they protected their population while creating openings to disable some of the alien ships. Small human teams deployed in stealth ships, striking critical systems in ways the aliens had never imagined. It was not brute force, it was intelligence and adaptability at work. Observers from other galaxies watched in amazement, recording the human tactics. "They do not fight like any known species," one whispered. "They improvise, adapt, and turn disadvantage into strength. Their approach is unpredictable, yet extremely effective." Even some alien leaders who had doubted the warnings began to feel fear, realizing that humans were capable of turning a hopeless situation into victory. The alien fleet became increasingly frustrated, unable to predict human moves. Their attacks failed. Their strategies were countered in ways they had never encountered. Meanwhile, humans maintained calm, observing every reaction, learning from each mistake, and adjusting their defenses. Each step humans took seemed simple, but had deep strategic thought behind it, leaving aliens bewildered. In one daring maneuver, a human squad used a series of decoys to mislead the alien fleet, drawing part of it into a trap. The aliens were destroyed or captured without humans losing a single life. The aliens had assumed humans would flee, fight blindly, or surrender, but the humans had done something far beyond their imagination. They had turned a battle into a display of intelligence, patience, and strategic thinking. Back on the human homeworld, news of the colony's defense spread quickly, inspiring hope and admiration. Even distant alien species began reporting that humans were far more capable than anyone had anticipated. They were resilient, resourceful, and clever beyond belief. The observers who had been warning the galaxy quietly nodded, knowing this was only the beginning of humanity's rise. The alien faction that had attacked was humiliated, not only because they failed to subdue the humans, but also because they could not understand how a smaller, seemingly weaker species had outsmarted them. Their pride was shattered, and some leaders began to doubt the decisions that had led them to underestimate humans for so long. Humans did not boast about their victory. They quietly repaired damages, saved the wounded, and prepared for whatever might come next. Their actions spoke louder than words, showing a combination of wisdom, courage, and patience. Across the galaxy, whispers about humans grew louder, some filled with fear, others with awe. "They are clever," one alien said quietly. "Too clever for us to control, too resourceful for us to predict. We laughed at the warnings, but now I think they were right." Yet many still refused to accept the truth, dismissing the humans' success as luck, not realizing that every move was calculated, every tactic carefully executed. Humans continued to expand their influence quietly, not through aggression, but through strategy, cooperation, and ingenuity. Their victory against the alien fleet became a lesson in patience and cleverness, showing that strength did not always come from numbers or weapons, but from thinking, adapting, and acting together. The observers documented everything, analyzing human tactics and predicting that the galaxy had never seen anything like them before. Even the alien council that had laughed at the first warnings was now forced to reconsider. "We underestimated them," one said. "They survive. They adapt. They outthink us, and they keep growing stronger. We ignored the warnings for too long, and now the humans are showing us their true potential." Others, however, still clung to hope that humans were just lucky, that this would be a temporary rise. But the evidence was clear. Humans had proven themselves beyond doubt. The humans' ability to respond to the attack without panic, their clever manipulation of technology, and their foresight in planning every move made them unpredictable and dangerous in ways no other species had seen. Every alien who had observed the battle realized that humans were not ordinary. They were clever, adaptable, and capable of surviving any challenge the galaxy could throw at them. The aftermath of the battle left the alien fleet battered and humiliated. The humans quickly repaired their own defenses, helped the survivors, and sent messages of peace to nearby systems, showing that their goal was not conquest but survival, intelligence, and cooperation. The galaxy began to understand that humans were changing the rules of engagement, creating a new standard for strategy and resilience. Observers noted that this battle marked a turning point. Humans had proven that intelligence, creativity, and teamwork could defeat raw power. Their methods were unpredictable, their courage unmatched, and their adaptability extraordinary. The galaxy had laughed at them once, dismissed their potential, but now it was impossible to ignore them. And humans, as always, moved forward, not boasting, not threatening, simply exploring, surviving, and learning. Every encounter, every victory, no matter how small, strengthened their reputation and showed that they were a species unlike any other. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long, and the first major clash only proved that humans were capable of far more than anyone had imagined. Humans had begun to spread quietly across the galaxy, their presence growing steadily as they explored new star systems, established colonies, and made contact with alien civilizations that were curious, cautious, or even fearful of them. Unlike many species, humans did not conquer by force. Instead, they used intelligence, empathy, and creativity to navigate every challenge. Their ability to adapt to new worlds and situations made them both admired and feared. In one system, humans arrived at a planet that had long been divided by war. Its inhabitants had fought among themselves for centuries, unable to find peace or cooperation. When humans made contact, they did not take sides. Instead, they observed, studied the cultures, and learned the motivations of each faction. Using careful planning, diplomacy, and creative problem-solving, they helped the warring groups find a solution that had never been tried before. The result was a fragile peace, built on understanding rather than fear or dominance. Word of humans' cleverness and diplomacy began to spread quietly from system to system, carried by the species they had helped. Some alien civilizations began to respect humans, while others grew uneasy. Unable to understand how such a seemingly small and fragile species could influence the galaxy without violence, observers who had warned the galaxy for decades nodded silently. This is exactly what we predicted. They said, humans do not need to destroy to be powerful. They change everything by simply being themselves, adaptable, clever, and persistent. Meanwhile, some of the galaxy's more arrogant species began to take notice, not out of admiration, but because they feared that humans' rise could disrupt their influence. These creatures are clever beyond measure, one alien leader said quietly in a council meeting. They survive impossible situations. They solve problems we cannot. And they are forming alliances without force or threat. We must watch them carefully. Yet even as they spoke, many dismissed the warnings, thinking human success would be temporary, that luck or coincidence had helped them. Humans continued to build relationships across the stars, not through manipulation, but through trust, ingenuity, and fairness. They helped repair damaged ships, shared technology that could save lives, and assisted alien civilizations in understanding their own problems more clearly. Their actions slowly created a reputation for reliability and intelligence. Even among species that had once mocked them, every challenge they faced, from natural disasters to political conflict, only strengthened humans' influence. In one instance, a human team discovered a system threatened by a massive cosmic storm that could destroy several inhabited planets. Alien leaders panicked, unsure how to respond, believing that no species could prevent the catastrophe. But humans acted quickly, using innovative technology, coordinated efforts, and bold strategies. They managed to stabilize the storm enough to save countless lives, earning the gratitude and respect of multiple alien civilizations. The event became an example of human ingenuity and courage, spreading their reputation even further. Observers who had been watching humanity closely began to report patterns that many alien councils ignored at first. Humans think differently than anyone else, one recorded. They are unpredictable, clever, and able to use minimal resources for maximum effect. They build alliances naturally, solve conflicts creatively, and survive situations others would consider hopeless. The galaxy is witnessing a species unlike any other. But despite the warnings, most councils still laughed quietly, convinced that humans were only lucky or inexperienced, not realizing that this was just the beginning. Humans also showed an uncanny ability to learn from mistakes, turning setbacks into opportunities. In one colony, a supply shipment was destroyed by an alien species who misunderstood the humans' intentions. Many observers expected humans to respond with anger or violence, but instead, humans adapted, repaired their losses, and found a way to gain the trust of the aliens involved. The result was stronger relationships and increased respect, proving that humans' power lay not in weapons, but in intelligence, patience, and ingenuity. As humans continued their expansion, alien species began to compare notes, discussing quietly the strange and clever behavior of this unpredictable species. "They survive where others would perish," one alien whispered. "They adapt faster than anyone else. And they gain influence without force. We ignored the warnings for too long." Others still refused to accept the truth, believing human successes were accidental or temporary. But the evidence was undeniable. Humans were building a presence in the galaxy that could not be ignored. Meanwhile, humans themselves remained focused on exploration and discovery, not on power or conquest. They moved carefully, learning new technologies, cultures, and systems. Their colonies grew stronger, and their alliances multiplied. Every challenge they overcame added to their reputation, demonstrating a combination of creativity, intelligence, and courage that no other species could match. Observers continued to study them, often taking detailed notes to understand how humans solved problems and built influence without domination. In one particularly tense situation, humans faced a planet on the brink of environmental collapse. With a population struggling to survive, alien species argued about intervention, unsure how to help without interfering. But humans analyzed the situation, combining science, technology, and collaboration with local populations. They devised solutions that stabilized the environment and allowed civilizations to survive and thrive. Their methods were clever, efficient, and completely unexpected, earning admiration and concern in equal measure across the galaxy. Even as humans gained influence and respect, some of the galaxy's more aggressive species plotted ways to contain them, believing that their unpredictability could one day threaten the established order. Yet, humans continued to act thoughtfully, calmly, and with ingenuity, overcoming obstacles that would have destroyed other species. Their adaptability and problem-solving skills were unmatched, proving that the warnings of observers had been true all along. By the time humans moved into new star systems, establishing colonies, alliances, and trade networks, the galaxy could no longer ignore their presence. Even species that had dismissed humanity were forced to acknowledge that they had underestimated a species that survived, adapted, and thrived against all odds. Humans had shown that intelligence, creativity, and cooperation were more powerful than brute force, and that their rise was unstoppable. Observers recorded every step, noting patterns, strategies, and behaviors that no other species could replicate. "Humans are clever, resilient, and resourceful," one noted. "They are changing the galaxy quietly, without aggression, yet with an influence that cannot be ignored." The warnings were true, and the galaxy must now learn to respect them before it is too late. And humans, as always, continued their journey, exploring, solving problems, building relationships, and thriving. Every new system, every new challenge, every unexpected success only reinforced the growing reputation of humanity. Their influence spread quietly but surely, and the galaxy began to realize that a species they had once dismissed as primitive was now something far more extraordinary than anyone had imagined. The galaxy had begun to take notice of humans, though not all for the right reasons. Many civilizations still laughed at the warnings, dismissing humans as primitive and insignificant, but the pattern of their success was undeniable. Humans had expanded quietly yet steadily, exploring new star systems, building colonies, and forming alliances in ways that no other species had. Their presence alone began to shift the balance of power in subtle but unmistakable ways. A large alien faction, one that had ignored the warnings for decades, decided to test humanity on a massive scale, assembling a fleet larger than any humans had faced before. They believed sheer numbers and firepower would crush the humans easily, confident that no species so small and seemingly fragile could survive such an onslaught. Yet humans had already learned from every previous encounter, adapting quickly, preparing defenses, and thinking in ways the aliens could not anticipate. As the fleet approached, humans observed its formation, size, and strategy. They did not panic. Instead, they coordinated across multiple colonies, sharing intelligence and devising a plan that combined cunning, speed, and technology. Every action was deliberate, calculated to exploit weaknesses the aliens did not know they had. The humans' ability to improvise while following a larger strategy amazed those who were secretly observing from afar. The first attack came swiftly, as expected, with the alien fleet firing weapons capable of destroying entire colonies. But humans had prepared shields, diversionary tactics, and hidden countermeasures. Using decoys, stealth ships, and clever coordination, they avoided the brunt of the attack and struck critical systems in the alien fleet, disabling several warships in ways that the aliens could not predict. It was a combination of patience, observation, and creativity that left their enemies stunned. Observers from multiple galaxies recorded every moment, noting the humans' unpredictable methods. "They do not fight like any known species," one alien whispered. "They turn disadvantage into advantage. They improvise in ways no one could anticipate. Their strategy is as clever as it is dangerous." Even some of the more cautious alien leaders began to admit their fear, realizing that humanity's rise could no longer be ignored. In the midst of the chaos, human crews carried out daring maneuvers, repairing their own defenses while targeting the aliens' weak points. Small teams infiltrated enemy ships, using technology that seemed simple but was highly effective. They disabled weapons, created confusion, and protected civilians all at the same time. Their focus was precise, their actions clever, and their courage unmatched. Every move left the aliens frustrated, bewildered, and increasingly desperate. Meanwhile, humans on other planets coordinated supply lines, backup fleets, and communications, ensuring that every colony could contribute to the defense. Their coordination was seamless, even under pressure, as if they had anticipated every possible scenario. They used intelligence and innovation rather than brute force, turning what the aliens thought would be an easy victory into a stunning display of skill and adaptability. As the battle raged, alien commanders struggled to understand human tactics. Their attacks were countered at every turn, and they could not predict the humans' next move. Every failure to subdue humanity shattered their confidence, while human forces continued to move with calm determination, adapting on the fly, and exploiting weaknesses in ways that no other species could imagine. Observers noted that humans seemed to have a talent for turning any crisis into an opportunity. Even when surrounded, outnumbered, or under direct attack, they found solutions that minimized losses and maximized impact. Their creativity, courage, and adaptability created a new standard for what it meant to be a formidable species. And it became clear that no galaxy-wide strategy could fully predict or counter humans' approach. In one extraordinary moment, a human squad used a combination of decoys, stealth technology, and timing to disable a massive portion of the alien fleet without a single human casualty. The aliens were left stunned, unable to understand how such a small force had achieved such a result. Observers recorded every detail, knowing that this would be studied for centuries as a demonstration of human ingenuity and strategic brilliance. The alien faction, once confident in their superiority, faced humiliation and confusion. Their pride was shattered, and some leaders began to reconsider their approach, realizing that humans were not merely lucky or inexperienced, but clever, adaptable, and capable of surviving challenges that would have destroyed countless other species. Even those who had doubted the warnings of the observers could no longer dismiss humanity's capabilities. Humans continued their advance, not through aggression, but through intelligence, cooperation, and resilience. They repaired damage, saved civilians, and coordinated resources across multiple colonies. Their actions demonstrated that true strength came not from brute force, but from ingenuity, patience, and teamwork. The alien faction, once dominant, was forced to retreat, leaving humans victorious without ever needing to escalate to full destruction. Across the galaxy, whispers of humanity's success spread quickly. Some species expressed fear, while others were filled with admiration. "They are clever beyond measure," one alien said quietly. "They survive impossible situations, they adapt faster than anyone else, and they create alliances that strengthen them even further. We cannot control them, and we cannot predict them." Yet, even as this recognition spread, some still refused to accept the truth, believing humans' rise to be a fluke or temporary. Observers continued to record and analyze every action, noting patterns, strategies, and behaviors that no other species could replicate. Humanity's combination of adaptability, intelligence, and teamwork was creating a ripple effect across the galaxy, changing alliances, disrupting assumptions, and forcing civilizations to reconsider their place in the universe. Meanwhile, humans themselves continued to focus on exploration, learning, and survival, not conquest. Their fleets expanded carefully, colonies grew stronger, and alliances multiplied. Every challenge they faced strengthened their reputation and influence, showing the galaxy that a species once dismissed as primitive was now a force of creativity, intelligence, and resilience. By the end of the conflict, humans had proven that numbers alone did not define strength, that intelligence, adaptability, and courage could overcome overwhelming odds. Observers noted that the battle marked a turning point, a moment when the galaxy began to truly recognize that humans were unpredictable, formidable, and capable of surviving and thriving in situations no other species could. And humans, as always, continued forward, exploring new systems, building relationships, and facing challenges with ingenuity and courage. Every encounter, every strategy, every victory, no matter how small, reinforced their reputation as a species unlike any other. And the galaxy could no longer underestimate them. Humans had become a force quietly reshaping the galaxy. Their reputation had spread across star systems, earning both admiration and fear. Civilizations that once ignored the warnings now watched every human move closely, trying to understand a species that had repeatedly proven clever, resourceful, and unpredictable. Yet humans themselves remained focused on exploration, learning, and survival rather than conquest. Their expansion was steady, careful, and deliberate. In one remote system, humans encountered a species that had always been considered one of the most intelligent in the galaxy. They were proud, calculating, and dismissive of most other civilizations. Yet when humans arrived, they were intrigued and cautious. They expected humans to be primitive, but quickly realized that humans' thinking, creativity, and adaptability were unlike anything they had studied before. Humans began observing them, learning their ways, understanding their language and culture, all while demonstrating patience and respect. The alien species attempted to challenge humans in subtle ways, testing their intelligence, strategy, and diplomacy, but humans responded with calm, clever solutions that no one could have anticipated. They solved problems that had confounded the alien species for centuries, using logic, observation, and innovation rather than force. Every challenge humans overcame not only strengthened their own position, but also sent a clear signal to the galaxy. Humans were not ordinary. They were capable of thinking in ways that other species could not. Meanwhile, other civilizations watched closely, noting the humans' methods. They do not follow rules like we do, one alien whispered to another. They improvise, adapt, and survive in ways that seem impossible. They are clever, patient, and bold all at once. They are changing the balance of power without ever raising a weapon. Observers who had long predicted humanity's rise nodded quietly, knowing that the species' reputation would soon reach every corner of the galaxy. Humans continued their diplomatic approach, forming alliances and partnerships with multiple alien civilizations. They helped planets facing environmental disasters, mediated disputes, and shared knowledge that allowed species to survive and thrive. Their approach was always clever and thoughtful, making allies without creating enemies. Yet their influence grew steadily, and even those who doubted them could not ignore their accomplishments. In one notable incident, humans discovered a planet on the verge of collapse due to a rare cosmic phenomenon. The local species was panicked and divided, unsure how to respond. Humans analyzed the situation carefully, creating a plan that combined technology, strategy, and collaboration with the planet's inhabitants. Their solution stabilized the system, saved countless lives, and demonstrated that humans could solve problems that had seemed impossible. Their ingenuity impressed even the most skeptical observers. The galaxy began to see humans as a species that could not be predicted. Their methods were different from any known species. They were resilient, creative, and capable of using intelligence and adaptability to overcome challenges that would destroy others. Alien leaders who had once dismissed humanity now argued quietly in councils. "We underestimated them for too long," one said. "They survive where no one else could. They adapt faster than anyone else, and their influence spreads without aggression. We must pay attention before it is too late." Even as humans gained influence, they remained humble, focused on learning and exploration. Their fleets expanded steadily, not aggressively. Their colonies grew stronger, and their alliances multiplied. Every encounter, every problem solved, and every challenge overcome further strengthened their reputation, demonstrating that humans were formidable not because of raw power, but because of intelligence, creativity, and persistence. In another incident, humans entered a system that had been controlled by a single powerful species for centuries. They were cautious, respectful, and observant, studying the culture and structure of the dominant species before making contact. Rather than confront or challenge them, humans offered solutions to problems the species had struggled with for decades. Their actions built trust and cooperation, surprising the ruling species and demonstrating that humans' strength lay in cleverness, patience, and diplomacy rather than force. Observers documented every interaction, noting humans' ability to solve conflicts, navigate politics, and build influence in ways that no other species had. Even aggressive or arrogant civilizations began to acknowledge that humans were exceptional. "They are unpredictable," one alien said. "They adapt, learn, and survive in ways we cannot predict. They create influence without domination, and yet their impact is undeniable." The warnings were true, and we ignored them at our peril. Humans continued to move forward, exploring new systems, making alliances, and learning from every encounter. Their growth was steady but unstoppable, and every challenge they faced added to their reputation. Across the galaxy, whispers of humans' intelligence and ingenuity spread quietly, changing perceptions and forcing species to reconsider their assumptions about the balance of power. In one dramatic situation, humans faced a coalition of alien species that believed they could control or intimidate humanity. The humans did not panic. Instead, they studied the coalition, analyzed its weaknesses, and created a plan that relied on strategy, timing, and coordination rather than force. The humans succeeded, avoiding major casualties while demonstrating their ability to handle threats far greater than themselves. The coalition was stunned, forced to acknowledge that humans could not be underestimated. The galaxy began to shift subtly in response to humans' presence. Alliances changed, strategies were reevaluated, and even the most powerful species realized that humanity was now a factor that could not be ignored. Observers who had warned others for decades continued to record and analyze human behavior, noting that their cleverness, resourcefulness, and adaptability were reshaping the galaxy. Humans, however, remained focused on their goals, quietly exploring, helping civilizations, and learning about the universe. Every challenge they faced became an opportunity to demonstrate intelligence, creativity, and courage. Their reputation spread not through violence or intimidation, but through cleverness, persistence, and the ability to solve problems that others could not. By the end of these events, it was clear to every species paying attention that humans were no longer a primitive species to ignore. They had proven themselves through diplomacy, strategy, and ingenuity, altering the galaxy's perception of them forever. Observers noted that humans' influence and reputation would only continue to grow, and the galaxy had no choice but to recognize that a species once dismissed as small and weak was now formidable, clever, and unpredictable. And humans, as always, continued forward, exploring, learning, and building alliances, their reputation growing quietly but surely. Every encounter, every clever solution, every unexpected success reinforced the truth. Humans were a species unlike any other, and the galaxy would never again underestimate them. Humans had grown from a curious species exploring their small solar system to a force quietly reshaping the galaxy. Their reputation had spread far and wide, earning admiration, respect, and fear. Many civilizations that had once ignored the warnings now watched every human move closely, trying to understand a species that seemed to defy every expectation. Yet humans themselves remained focused on exploration, learning, and cooperation rather than conquest. Their influence expanded through intelligence, ingenuity, and resilience. In one distant sector, humans encountered a coalition of advanced alien civilizations who had long considered themselves the dominant powers in the galaxy. They assumed that humans were primitive, fragile, and easily controlled. But as the humans approached, they observed quickly, analyzed the situation, and coordinated a plan that no other species could have predicted. Their presence alone disrupted the balance of power, forcing the coalition to reconsider their assumptions. The coalition decided to test humans directly, assembling a massive fleet designed to intimidate, overwhelm, and destroy. They believed sheer numbers and firepower would make the humans' defeat certain. Yet humans had already learned from centuries of observation, encounters, and minor conflicts. They were prepared to adapt, improvise, and turn apparent disadvantage into opportunity. Every action was carefully planned, yet flexible, allowing them to respond to changes in real time. As the alien fleet approached, humans coordinated their colonies, fleets, and resources across multiple star systems. Using advanced communication networks, rapid deployment, and clever strategy, they prepared for the inevitable confrontation. Every move was designed to protect civilians, minimize losses, and exploit weaknesses in ways the aliens could not anticipate. Their intelligence, patience, and creativity became their greatest weapons. The battle began with a swift assault from the alien coalition, expecting chaos and surrender. But humans had anticipated every possibility, deploying decoys, shields, and diversion tactics that confused and frustrated the attackers. Stealth teams infiltrated key ships, disabling weapons and creating confusion. While larger fleets provided support and protection for civilians, the aliens were stunned. Their predictions and calculations rendered useless by the humans' ingenuity. Observers from distant galaxies watched in amazement, recording every maneuver. "They do not fight like any species we know," one whispered. "They adapt, improvise, and survive against overwhelming odds. They turn disadvantage into advantage. They create victories where no one expected. And they do it without arrogance or aggression. Their cleverness is unparalleled." Even some of the most arrogant alien leaders began to feel fear, realizing that humans could not be underestimated. In the midst of the conflict, humans managed not only to defend their colonies, but also to save alien civilians caught in the crossfire. Their actions demonstrated empathy, intelligence, and strategic thinking simultaneously. They avoided unnecessary destruction, turning a dangerous confrontation into an opportunity to build trust and cooperation. The aliens who had planned to intimidate humanity were forced to admit that humans were capable of thinking, planning, and adapting far beyond their expectations. Across the galaxy, whispers about humans' cleverness spread like wildfire. Some species admired them for their ingenuity and courage. Others feared them for their unpredictability and resilience. Even those who had dismissed humanity's potential began to reconsider, acknowledging that the warnings from the observers had been correct. Humans were not just surviving. They were reshaping the galaxy quietly and effectively. During one key maneuver, a human squad used deception, timing, and coordination to disable a large portion of the alien fleet without suffering a single casualty. The aliens were left humiliated, unable to understand how a smaller, seemingly weaker species had outsmarted them. Observers documented every detail, predicting that humanity's rise would be studied for centuries as an example of strategy, intelligence, and courage. The alien coalition retreated, their pride shattered. Their plans to dominate or intimidate humans had failed, leaving them confused and frustrated. Some alien leaders began to question their own assumptions, realizing that humans were clever, resourceful, and resilient beyond measure. Even those who had doubted the warnings of observers could no longer deny humanity's capabilities. The galaxy had witnessed a species that could survive, adapt, and thrive against all odds. Humans continued their expansion, but always with purpose and care. They explored new systems, built colonies, and formed alliances. Their influence spread not through aggression, but through intelligence, strategy, and cooperation. Every challenge they overcame, every problem they solved, and every encounter they survived reinforced their reputation as a species unlike any other, capable of altering the balance of power without ever needing to dominate through force. In one final demonstration of their skill, humans helped resolve a galaxy-wide crisis caused by a cosmic phenomenon threatening multiple civilizations. Their ability to coordinate, innovate, and act decisively saved countless lives, demonstrating that their strength lay not in weapons, but in intelligence, adaptability, and teamwork. The galaxy began to recognize that humans had fundamentally changed the rules, showing that cleverness and courage could outweigh size, power, or experience. Observers continued to record humanity's actions, noting patterns of problem solving, alliance building, and survival that no other species could replicate. They saw that humans' rise was not temporary or accidental, but the result of intelligence, persistence, and creativity. The galaxy had underestimated them for centuries, but now humans had proven that they were a force to be reckoned with. Even as humans continued their journey, exploring new worlds, helping civilizations, and learning about the universe, the galaxy slowly shifted in response to their presence. Alliances changed, strategies were reevaluated, and every species began to acknowledge that humanity could no longer be ignored. They had survived impossible challenges, outsmarted enemies, and built influence quietly but effectively, leaving a mark on the galaxy that would last forever. By the end of these events, it was clear that humans had fulfilled the warnings given decades earlier. They were clever, resilient, and unpredictable, capable of surviving and thriving in ways no other species could. The galaxy had underestimated them for too long, but now humanity had shown that a small, curious species from a blue planet could alter the fate of entire civilizations. And humans, as always, continued forward, exploring, learning, and building relationships. Their reputation grew quietly but undeniably. Every challenge overcome, every clever solution, and every unexpected success reinforced the truth. Humans were a species unlike any other, unpredictable, formidable, and destined to leave an enduring mark on the galaxy.